Is there anyone here who has something that would stop the bride and the groom from becoming bound as husband and wife? The officiating minister asked. Stop. Stop. No. This can never happen. Stop this wedding. The voice of a woman was heard echoing into the air. But for Dennis and his bride to be Laura, their heart raised in fear. Dennis was being caught up with by karma while Laura was innocent and caught in the web of deception. Everyone in the crowd turned to see who was screaming and causing an uproar that is interrupting the ceremony. They all fixated their eyes to see who let out the loud cries. They saw a tousled woman, with her eyes bloodshot red, her hair tangled and unkempt. Though she was clothed in a pretty dress, she still looked disordered. The woman locked her eyes on the bride and groom, who were looking stunned. She fixed her desperate glance at them. Her face was wrinkled in unhappiness and anger. The atmosphere amidst the wave of the beach waters shifted from happiness to shock. Shock was written on the faces of everyone as they whispered and murmured amongst themselves, trying to find out who the lady is. Who is she? A guest whispered. I hope this isn't badness. Another guest murmured. The minister's voice attempted to restore order, but Dennis tried to persuade him to continue with the ceremony, but he didn't give Nelly a chance to speak on what brought her, as everyone has a right to speak at the point of that question. Nelly's desperate cries continued to echo. You can't marry her. You can't. I won't allow you. Never. You can never be happy, while I languish and suffer. You'll never be happy, Dennis, until you right your wrongs, said the lady. Please leave this place. Please don't do this. Dennis said with fear in his heart. Laura, his bride, prayed silently that whatever the disheveled-looking woman has to say doesn't bring pains to her or doesn't affect her marriage with the man she loved for years. So, you want to be happy, Dennis, at expense of my own suffering? You brought another beautiful young lady to deceive and to exploit. You would never be happy, not as long as I am not happy. The woman screamed in rage and amidst tears. Her eyes were filled with determination. She was bent on achieving what brought her to the place. She was bent on revealing Dennis' secret. Nelly, please stop this. Please just leave. Please don't do this. Leave. Security. Why would you allow such haggard-looking woman? Can't you see this wedding is strictly on invitation? Take her out. Dennis was trying to shut Nelly up to cover his tracks, but unfortunately for him, Nelly did not come in cowardice. She looked desperate and was ready to fight. Her eyes was filled with rage. Everyone in the crowd were already heaving sighs of disbelief and disappointment. While some had their ears standing to hear what Nelly had to say, some were already murmuring and trying to make guesses. Dennis, scared, he turned to his wife-to-be, who was looking so confused and with mixed emotions. Laura didn't know how to feel. She just wanted the whole charade to come to an end. She didn't want to believe that the man she had spent years loving has a secret which he had kept all these years. In her heart she silently prayed for this whole incident not to be true. Who is she? Laura asked her husband to be in anger, hoping for a sincere response that would debunk the presence of the lady. What's really happening? Another guest from the crowd asked, but there was no response. Dennis went ahead to explain to Laura to calm down and not to be worried. He tried to make sure Nelly was taken away, but to no avail. She struggled and kept screaming aloud her cries. You can't marry him. He's mine, or at least he should be mine. If you marry him, you are putting yourself at risk. You really can't marry him. And you, Dennis, I see how you're trying your best to throw me out of this place. Let's see if your wife-to-be would still want to marry you when she finds out the secret you've been hiding from her, she said, laughing hysterically. The minister went ahead to try to calm the uproar. But to no avail. She tried to destroy the decorations. The guests were already becoming tired of the whole drama. Some started to leave while some waited to see as the drama ends. Laura lost her patience. She began to question her husband-to-be. Who is this woman, and is there any form of truth in anything she is saying? Dennis, are you keeping secrets from me? What's all this? And why does it look as if you don't want her to say what she has to say? Are you hiding something from me? Laura said with her gaze fixed to her husband's eyes. Dennis was confused and words were not forthcoming. He couldn't answer Laura. He stuttered each time he tried. Please just leave Nelly. Laura forgets about her in her presence. Let's all pretend she's not well. Dennis said with voice trembling. Nelly was dragged out. As she was being dragged, she laughed hysterically and turned and pointed at Dennis. Have you told Laura you've been married before? Everyone was in shock as Nelly let these words out. Tears was already rolling down Laura's cheek. She was in disbelief and in shock. She couldn't comprehend everything that was going, and now a bombshell has been dropped. Her own Dennis married? She thought. Stop! Laura screamed, and immediately the heavy-looking men who were dragging Nelly stopped. Amidst tears, Laura asked her to repeat what she just said. Laura, I know this is going to hurt you, but I've been heartbroken, and look at me being treated like a mad woman. Dennis is married to me, but he left me to go find happiness somewhere, and I've taken it upon me that he'd never find happiness until he rights his wrong. Nelly said while pointing at Dennis, who covered his face in shame. He couldn't help it, his secret was out, but he loved Laura and doesn't want to let her go. What is she saying, Dennis? Tell me she's lying, please tell me. Laura said, her voice shaking in fear. Everyone looked stunned and couldn't believe their ears, but they all paid attention to find out the real truth. Nelly, are you happy now that you've destroyed everything I built for years? We're not legally married, I only paid your bride price, and when I wasn't interested anymore, I came to meet your parents to revoke it, but your family refused. I moved on with my life, but here you're today trying to turn my life in shambles. Is it because of my wealth? Nelly explained to Laura how Dennis has been blackmailing her since they were dating. He threatened her every time she tried to show in the picture, and she was scared, so she let him be. But when she heard he was getting married, she couldn't contend with it. She had to fight for what is rightly hers. The wealth he's talking about is my own struggles. I gave you everything you used to start up your company, but you rendered me hopeless. Nelly said, facing the crowd. Laura couldn't say a word. All she did was cry. She turned to the crowd. She thought about the disgrace. She looked at Dennis' face. Her throat tightened. Words were not forthcoming. Dennis, I trusted you with my whole life. We built this relationship on the mantle that there would be no secrets, and this? It's not just a secret, but a big one that has brought shame and disgrace to me. Why did you do this to me? Dennis stuttered and tried to wipe the tears off her eyes, but she pushed him away. I'm sorry, Laura, you're the one I love, he said with face paled. It's same way he paid my bride price and promised to love and cherish me. He got me pregnant and abandoned me, after taking all I have, even after promising to return and take care of us. Nelly continued, her eyes flashing in desperation. She was eager to make sure Laura doesn't forgive Dennis. Nelly, I. Dennis stuttered with guilt written over him. Just allow me be. I love Laura and there's nothing you can do about it, he continued with a pale voice. No. You can't marry her, you can't live a happy life and leave me to struggle and suffer with your children. The twins are longing for their father. Wait, what? You lied to me, Dennis. You've been lying to me all these years. I spent 6 years with you, and for 6 years you've been hiding all this from me. Laura said this time she couldn't stand the atmosphere. She took off her shoes and threw away her flowers and ran out. Her bridesmaid, her best friend, followed her. She ran with tears flowing down from her eyes uncontrollably. Please stop. Laura, please don't go. Please don't leave me. I love you so much and I can explain everything. Please allow me fix this, Dennis said as he ran after her. His face was looking gloomy and pale. He was about to lose the love of his life. He was confused and didn't know how to correct his mistakes. His heart boiled in hatred for Nelly for disrupting his wedding. Laura stopped to look at her husband-to-be Dennis, who was already in a devastated mood. Her face turned pale as she gazed at him and her eyes met with his, her eyes filled with shock and betrayal. She turned to look at Nelly in disgust. She heaved a sigh of disappointment and grabbed her wedding dress and continued running. Dennis caught up with her and tried to explain everything to her, but his throats were dried. He couldn't look her in the eyes for shame of lying to her all these years. Yes, it's true, Dennis said as he admitted. Everything Nelly said is true, but I never thought I'd see her again. I even tried to divorce her, but family refused. Laura, I promise you, you're the one I love and I have loved you with all my heart. Just give me a chance to right my wrong. How could you? She screamed as she hit him. How could you keep this huge secret from me? You lied to me for 6 years, Dennis. It was easy and better to just say the truth, but you chose to lie. No woman deserves to be treated the way you treated Nelly, and I don't deserve this either. This wedding is cancelled. I can't continue with this, Laura said amidst tears. As she removed her engagement ring and threw it to Dennis, the crowd gasped in disbelief and murmured amongst themselves. You need to fix your mess without dragging me into it, she added. Dennis' face hardened with contempt against Nelly. He pushed her away and warned her again. Coming close to him, he threatened her, but she was unbothered. However, he kept begging Laura, but she turned deaf ears to his pleas. Every guest who came for the wedding began to disperse in disappointment and murmured as they left. Who do you think is wrong, Nelly? For disrupting the marriage or Dennis? Do not forget Dennis was not legally married to Nelly, and he also went to meet Nelly's parents when he wasn't interested anymore to revoke it, but her family refused. Or do you think Laura should have went on with the wedding except the disruption from Nelly? Thanks for watching. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on your notification to be notified when we post the next episode.